The moment your JetBrains plugin needs data from a user account, a simple API stops being simple. Now you need authentication, and the bad version is this. Ask people to generate an access token, paste it into the IDE settings and hope it never leaks. Don't do that. The OAuth2 flow I use now is built for this. Open the browser, let the user log in, receive a callback inside the IDE, use PKCE and store the token securely. That gives your plugin a clean way to call an external API on behalf of the user without asking for the password and without making them paste tokens manually. Before we open the code, here is the mental model. OAuth2 is a bit like checking into a hotel. You show your ID at reception and they give you a key card. That keycard does not open every door in the building. It opens your room, maybe the gym, maybe the elevator. And when your stay is over, it stops working. That is the important part. The hotel does not give you a master key. It gives you a limited access. Only the places you're allowed to use and only for a while. OAuth2 tokens work in the same way. The user keeps their real credentials safe and your plugin gets token with just enough access to do the job. Here is the full flow without going too deep yet. The plugin shows a login with the GitHub button. When the user clicks it, the plugin creates two one-time values. The first one is state. This is how plugin later recognizes the callback and makes sure it belongs to the login request we just started. The second one is the PKCE code verifier. PKCE stands for Proof Key for Code Exchange. From that verifier, the plugin creates a code challenge. This challenge goes to GitHub with a login request, but the original verifier stays inside the plugin. Then the browser opens. User signs in, reviews the permissions and approves access. After that, GitHub redirects back to the IDE with the same state and a temporary authorization code. The plugin uses state to find the pending request, send the code to GitHub together with the original verifier. GitHub checks whether the verifier matches the challenge from the first step. If it does, GitHub returns an access token. Let's see that flow in the IDE. I open the plugin settings and click Login with GitHub. The browser opens the GitHub authorization page. I approve access, GitHub redirects back to the IDE, and the browser shows a success message. Now, when I return to the settings panel, the plugin shows my GitHub username and a logout button. That's the moment I want you to notice. I did not paste a token anywhere. I did not type password into the plugin. From the user's point of view, it feels like a normal login. From the plugin's point of view, we now have what we need to call the GitHub API. Now let's connect the demo to the code. The sample has 4 main roles. First, plugin.xml registers the settings page and the local callback handler. That's how the IDE knows where to show our login UI and which class should handle the redirect from GitHub. Second, AuthConfigurable is the settings UI. It shows login with GitHub when the user is logged out and the username with logout when the user is logged in. Third, AuthRestService is where GitHub redirects after login. It gets the state and the temporary code, checks that state and passes the code to AuthService. Fourth, the real OAuth2 flow lives in AuthService. This is where we build the GitHub authorization URL. Open it in the browser, wait for the callback, exchange for returned code for a token, and store that token in PasswordSafe. That's the whole structure: registration, UI, callback, service. Once you understand those 4 roles, the rest of the code is much easier to read. And that's the pattern. Start the login in the browser, receive the callback in the IDE, exchange the code with PKCE, store the token securely, and then use it for API calls from your plugin. I use GitHub here, but the same structure works for other OAuth2 providers as well. The details change in a bit: scopes, URLs, tokens, response format, sometimes refresh tokens, but the flow is the same. You'll find the blog post and the code sample in the description. And if you're building JetBrains plugins, follow me for more IntelliJ platform tutorials. See you next time!